he was.
Oh, I believe it, because we know Kevin. We know how competitive he is and his desire to race, and he's one of those guys that if he's not up there racing for the win, he's one of those guys that's hard on himself.
But
we know that.
You didn't see that in him. You could see that his mind was working. Like, okay, I got a good basis. I got a good starting point.
The confidence was there, and
yeah. So that's where I was getting worried. Is Kevin gonna let that emotion in? Normally he doesn't let that happen in the car.
Right.
So, but I knew he was very passionate about this. And I've seen through a lot of the posts that he's very passionate about this. So I was worried that he was going to maybe let it get to him a little much, but he didn't. He kept his pretty level-headed.
Actually kept his, like you said, level-headed and really gathered himself. And you could see the education throughout the night, what he learned and how fast he got.
Yeah, so they're like you guys are saying, though, I think a couple more cars are probably going to come out, and it's probably going to help it be a little more competitive. I wouldn't see gangbusters, 10 of them. You're probably not going to.
We're not going to see that this year.
No.
Yeah.
That's just the fact. You're not going to see a full main
fleet
event.
of them. No, it's going to take a couple of years.
But like I said, I do hope that class does grow. I want to wish that class the best because we've watched a lot of videos together, guys. And we watched the street stocks, or what they call street stocks, or they say stock cars in the North and the Midwest. That's exciting racing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is exciting racing, and if we can have that with a field of cars like that,
sure,
the fans are going to love that.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking away anything from any other class.
No,
but this is one of those classes that again, you don't see one guy take off and win by a straightaway. It's 4 or 5 cars at a turn 4 coming to the checkered, and who's going to win? That's who doesn't like watching that.
Well, that's where all the excitement just comes from.
It is, yeah. And I hope this class grows. I will say this after what we saw. When we saw Kevin get really, really good throughout the night, that 2G car, no matter what happens to this class this year, he is going to be BA fast.
Oh, yeah.
He is. And I will say that is probably the best. And I know there's only 2 cars, but you're watching what the drivers are doing behind the wheel, how the cars are acting, probably the best that I've ever seen Brad Gentry drive. I mean, he was on his game.
Well, we get to see a lot more from the tower, too. We get to see how fast, we know what their times are, things like that, where the average guy isn't. So we get to see a lot more data.
Well, and again, you want to talk lap times. We look at this particular class, and we saw Brad Gentry sweep the night. Mm-hmm. Okay. In the main event, Brad Gentry's best lap time was 18.210. Not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Now, again, remember, Kevin was closing in the last couple of laps and ran right up on his bumper there in the closing 2 or 3 laps. Like, again, 2/10 was the difference, the margin of victory. Kevin's best lap was a 17.587.
Wow.
17.587 would have been good in the modifieds and qualifying.
Yeah.
I mean, the track came in, and these cars... and that's what cracks me up watching all these divisions, even from street stocks all the way up through the late models. Lap times are getting closer and closer and closer together.
Yeah,
the speeds that we're seeing from what I mentioned, and I didn't mean it as an insult. The lower ranks, I'm talking, compared to late models, the speeds and lap times we're seeing out of these cars, what these guys and teams are doing with them, absolutely amazes me. That's why I want this class to grow. I want the street stocks to obviously, I love that class. Mm-hmm. I love it. When you can see a Camaro and a Chevelle and a Mustang and a Cougar and a Caprice and a whatever it is. When you watch that, and that's just, that's the cars we watched when we were kids. So there's a lot of nostalgia there when you're watching that. I want that class to remain big and get bigger. I do want to see this IMCA stock car class grow. If 2 cars can put on that type of show with just a margin that was nearly a half a straightaway where one guy runs him down, that's exciting because you're kind of hoping, man, I hope he gets there. And he gets there. Now you got a race. I don't care if it's 2 cars. I know we don't want to see it. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it got exciting. I mean, looking down from the Moxie Tower onto the track, watching the gap close lap after lap, and Brad, just as cool as he knew, do this, I'm going to win. Be smooth, be consistent. And that's what he did. He did a great job of it. And then Kevin's back there with the hammer down. He's got the car coming in. The left front's coming up. He's driving this car. You could see he was like, I'm catching him. He was willing that car. And it actually ended up, the fans, I think, for only having 2 cars, got a pretty good entertainment out of that because
they got a value.
They did. And I want to see that class grow. I do. I think it'll be a good thing for an option for drivers and teams, for people that want to move up.
It'll be interesting to see how the dollar amounts end up being in that class.
Well, that's the big discussion.
Yeah.
What the cost of building an IMCA stock car is. We do know
what's going to be the norm. What's going to be the average after we see a few more of these. That's going to be what I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm. That will be interesting because I think
it'll kind of go with the topic we want to talk about tonight.
Yes, it will. It will, and it's a good topic. I think it's good. So with the IMCA stock cars, I'm not complaining. I know what it takes to grow a class. Hopefully this works out well. And we get a good field of those cars. So from the IMCA stock cars...
You never said... Oh, yeah, you did. Never mind.
Our next class would be... I want to talk super sports.
Mm-hmm.
No. Before we go into our...
Yes.
This is Tom's new favorite class.
Yeah,
so.
It's the best.
It's the best because he owns one now.
I feel like we're going to be stuck on this one for a while. I just got that feeling.
We had... Okay, so with 13 cars... showed up. We had 12 start the main. Okay. 20. What did we go? We went 25 laps for the Super Sport main event. Now, for those listening around the country, I know there's a lot of you out there that don't know what a Super Sport is at Willamette Speedway. Let me tell you. These are a late model type race car with wedge noses, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. No tops. Big sideboards.
Did you hear that, Dom? No
tops.
tops.
I won't put the roof on.
I won't put the roof on.
I told him not to. No tops, big sideboards, but they have to run on asphalt slick. Okay? I think when I look towards the back of the pack of this race, I look at some of the names and I just go, how did that happen, given what we saw as the day progressed? Through heat races, dashes. Mm-hmm. We'll start at the back in the 12th spot was McLean Bedoin, the young man in the 17 car, the not whole market Swartz.
He is awesome.
Yeah, he's
my hero. I'm not kidding.
This kid is.
He was having a few issues with his receiver.
But he had a great race going until. There was a mistake down in 1 and 2. The car got really sideways.
Yeah.
He saved it. Honestly, I didn't think he was going to. Given the speed we saw on the track conditions were, they were there. The speed was there. That car got sideways. A lot of guys would have lost that car. He drove out of it. Now, he had to get up on the apron and kind of cut through the middle, but the car didn't go around. He saved it.
He looked pro. I mean, just flat out gentleman driver.
Impressive given the fact of his age. He's very, very young. Okay. Just ahead of him, okay, I hope this dude does not make me eat my words because I made the prediction that he was going to win the track title in this division this year. The 46 of Doug Elkins.
Yeah, we're both on that one, remember? Yeah.
We did agree that he was probably going to be the guy that was going to run for the track championship. He finished 11th. Okay, he had a great race going. He was in the top 3, top 4, top 5, mixing it up. A little bit of bad luck. 8 laps down. Or he finished 8 laps, so he was 17 laps down, but he was really fast in those early stages. The other car, just ahead of him in the 10th spot, which in the heat races we made comparisons. The car was coming off the corners, just launching. Was the 36. Now, the car had no number on it, but it was the 36. The car owned by Jody Tanner. He'll be the regular pilot, but because he was down at Grove, Steve Moore filled in for him in the Victory Circle chassis, and my goodness.
Insane.
Was that not... Sam, I want to hear your description from what you saw on from your vantage point. We're up in the tower. You're more trackside watching this. What did it look like when Steve Moore was getting into the corner in that car?
Well, it reminded me of his late model is what it reminded me of.
Almost Rob Maya-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just no stopping.
Just,
Go.
I'll say it, balls deep into the corner.
That is it.
There was no lift. Steve Moore was on a mission, and dude was passing cars.
Yes,
he
was.
Started towards the back of the pack. I think he actually came out of like the next to last row.
Yeah.
And within a couple of laps, he's running third,
Yep.
running second, and was just flying.
He was on fire. That was awesome.
He was absolutely flying through that field. Got up into the top 2 or 3, mixing it up, racing for the lead. Do you guys know what happened?
No.
He actually had, whether it was a rock or a chunk of clay, something, come off the track, got up in there, and took the belt off that runs the water pump and the power steering. He said he knew what it was because about 2 laps in, right before he shut the car off, he said immediately he felt the car, it got really hard to drive.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't know it looking down, watching the car. It didn't change the way the car was getting in the corner and just rolling over on the right rear and hooked up, and the sideboards and everything was working well. Okay? But he said in those 2 laps, he goes, I got to work out. Because I got to work out. And I looked down at the gauges, saw the temperature was, going up. And he goes, I knew exactly what it was. Got to the top of the racetrack, got out of traffic, turned it off, and kind of, and then putted his way, got it refired, let everybody go by, putted off the track when the caution came out. Smart move.
Yeah.
Being it's not his race car, not his engine, they don't want to blow it up. But man, if that doesn't happen, who knows what we would have saw with him and our eventual
First time
winner.
out.
Yeah.
That car.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So Dave Miller, the 55, finished 9th. I thought at one point Dave was going to be a top 2 or 3 car early in the race. Watched him early in the race, and again, bad luck. Bad luck getting tangled up with the driver in the early stages down in turn 2, where it seemed to be where most of that stuff happened was down at that end of the racetrack, turns 1 and 2. Miller got together with, I want to say it was a 77 of Slover, a little bit of contact. Both guys continued, but it did hurt Miller, kind of slowed him down a little bit, and I'm not sure if there was something physical that happened to the car, if something broke. But clearly something was amiss. But all in all, he manhandled the car, for the first, the few laps that he after the contact, and finally just said, time to shut her down. 8th place. This was a surprise because I expected him to be, after what we saw last year, Jordan Wright in the 33. 3 wins last year. We know how fast his car was. We saw him in qualifying. We saw him in the heat. We saw him, in the dash. He was fast. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember. It was something, again, in turn 2, if I remember right. It was right out of turn 2 on the backstretch. Something happened with Jordan Wright, and it went towards the back. Ended up finishing 8th. Robert Mercer in the 30. Yeah. Good run for him. Finished 7th. Vaughn Stone. Mm-hmm. Vaughn Stone returned to Willamette Speedway in a Swartz that he purchased from Cody Sell. The old Cody Sell car. He kept the same color scheme, the flat black and the fluorescent yellow. Did a good job of driving. Hadn't been in the car in a couple years and returned and stayed out of trouble. Drove a good race, kept the car clean, didn't overdrive it. Just kind of got back in, shook off some rust, and kind of got a feel for it, and it paid off. He got a 6. He finished right in the middle of the pack, 6th place. Just ahead of him, 5th place, Alan Elkins in the 45. And here's a name that we didn't know. We didn't know his name coming in to the night. Right. We saw the car at practice, who's the 45 car, couldn't get information on it, and as the night progressed, started paying attention. Not a bad run for the 45 of Alan Elkins, the brother to Doug. Yeah. 4th place, former track champion, the 13B, Randy Bartley. Mm-hmm. Had the Rayburn out on the hooked up racetrack and just kind of, again, drove a smart race. Kept it clean, kept it out of trouble, drove a good, smooth, consistent line. Paid off with a 4th place finish. James Slover in the 77S. A 3rd place finish. To me, I don't want to say that's a surprise, but I didn't think he was the 3rd place car watching the car through the program. Again, a little bit of contact with him and Miller early in the race, but to recover and drive to a top 3. That's a good
recovery,
run. Because this was a good field of cars, the Super Sport field. Yeah. There was a lot of strong cars in it and pretty equally matched.
Sure.
So a top 3 against this field is nothing to be slumped over about. 2nd place, BJ Donofrio in the 99.
See, that was my prediction. Remember?
You did. You did. And so far, Dom's got us, Sam. Donna Frio.
Early season, early in